is sponsored by Augie's Locker Room. Augie's features the largest collection of Notre Dame football memorabilia and gifts, including rare and hard-to-find items.
Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim O'Malley with Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated and John Brice of FootballScoop. And today we had a guess that a defense would be the best unit on the field. We were wrong which defense it was. It was clearly Clemson's defense against Notre Dame's struggling offense.
Yeah, and we specifically talked about in pregame about what Notre Dame has done defensively, scoring and special teams. And as it turns out, it's Clemson that scores defensively, and then the flub punt by Chris Tyree led to a short score. So, it's just, that was 10 points, and it was an 8-point game. So, that was ultimately the difference. But was this team really prepared to perform today at a high level? I don't think so. Defense came out poorly, rebounded in the second half, but the offense was a disaster in the second half. After cutting it to 8, last 6 drives, 24 plays, 56 yards, never entered Clemson's territory.
And in reality, Notre Dame's defense scored as well because they intercepted a pass and brought it down to the 2-yard line. The offense did very little, and John, you pointed out 31-23 final score. It was 31-23 with about 21 minutes left in this game.
And Notre Dame had ample possessions, but not really opportunities. It never could flip field position. We talked about Notre Dame's need today specifically to start out fast. Instead, we watched Notre Dame settle for a field goal early. Clemson then started out fast with its own possessions. Special teams, not just the muffed punt by Chris Tyree, a disaster, the short, low line drive punt that allowed Clemson to return it back to the 41. Then Maffa scores on the very next play. Just I'm still wondering what Notre Dame's identity is right now. We're 10 games into this season, and we don't know Notre Dame's identity, and we know for a fact that Notre Dame has not reached its full potential. Give Sam Hartman a lot of credit for the ownership he took after the game, but it was a very un-Sam Hartman-like performance.
Yeah, the interception touchdown was a killer, and Marcus Freeman even mentioned we got a little gun-shy after the interception, and that's not something you think you can have with a 6-year quarterback in Sam Hartman. He admitted he tried to squeeze a ball in there that he shouldn't have. That was a turning point in the game, but Notre Dame had, that's a great point, they had possessions but not opportunity. 6 possessions in the third quarter. After Notre Dame scored a touchdown with Audric Estime, they had 6 possessions deep in their own end. They never got it into Clemson's end. That's not as bad as the fact that Clemson had 6 possessions, 5 of them starting in Notre Dame territory, and they didn't get anything out of it other than punts, fumbles, and ending the game on downs. The defense came to play in the second half after allowing one touchdown drive. The offense just never got anything going today.
I asked Marcus Freeman, what their game plan was offensively. Was it comparable to what you did against Ohio State, where you ran the football and were able to control the clock a little bit? And he said, that wasn't exactly it. They wanted to be able to throw the ball around, but Sam Hartman didn't reach. He had thrown 17 passes with, 10 minutes to go in the game. And so that's what reminded me of Ohio State from that perspective, that they just didn't put the football in the air. And then when they had to, it was an absolute disaster. Notre Dame's wideouts are an absolute disaster right now. Tobias Merriweather, I don't understand what's going on. What do you do? Are you trying to compete or aren't you? And then, Jordan Faison,
He's trying to compete.
Yeah, he's trying to compete. He's the most productive guy out there, but on 4th down with the game on the line, he's standing on the sideline. So I don't understand what they were trying to do offensively. Jared Parker's game plan, whatever it was a disaster because they were not prepared to execute in any way, shape, or form with any kind of consistency.
And I know Notre Dame was able to corral Maffa a little bit more in the second half, but let's give credit where credit is due. He had his way in the first half, including a 41-yard touchdown run. I know what their plan was. Their plan was to make Notre Dame pass to beat them, and they felt we can run the ball on Notre Dame, and just because Notre Dame stopped them once they were well behind, that still wasn't enough to win today.
Well, and let's remember when we talk about what Notre Dame wanted to do offensively, Notre Dame once again started off very efficient in this game, had to settle for field goals. But there was a point in time where Audric Estime had 16 touches for 106 yards in the first half of this game. So Notre Dame was doing some decent things on offense, but it very quickly found itself. That 24-6 hole, guys, is the largest deficit of the Marcus Freeman era. We're 24 games into the Marcus Freeman era. 24-6 is the largest deficit that a Marcus Freeman team has faced. That took Notre Dame, whatever identity it was going to have on offense, it completely took it away. I thought another key factor, they had expected Jaden Thomas to go and be a factor today, and we didn't see him. And certainly we didn't see him. The wide receivers weren't the factor they had expected that they would be able to be. And again, Sam Hartman said it, and we all saw it sitting in the press box. There were a lot of guys that ran open today that, for whatever reason, Sam Hartman didn't see them.
There were some defensive heroes in the second half, and I want to bring that up because there weren't on the offensive side of the ball. Xavier Watts, Benjamin Morrison with another pass defended. Xavier Watts picks it off, returns it to the 2-yard line to set up one of Notre Dame's 2 touchdowns in the second half, or 2 touchdowns of the contest, actually. JJB started getting some pressure, and that helped a little. Jack Kaiser played a heck of a second half at the goal line and on second and third down. Offensively, you start digging, and you came up with Jordan Faison. The tight ends did not have a good day. The running backs, Audric Estime had a good day, but there's still these plays where Audric Estime can score. He has a 24-yard gain on a swing pass, and he's tackled up 3 from behind. Notre Dame doesn't get in. They get a field goal. Holden Stays can set a block on the perimeter. He doesn't get the block. It's a 35-yard gain for Rico Flores. Now, they scored on this drive, but that should have been another 25 yards with the block. Jordan Faison needed 1 block to make it the most electric 70-yard little screen route you would have seen this season. The offense just was not clicking on any cylinders today.
No, and it makes you think back to the Ohio State game because, look, in 2023, this is a lesser version of Ohio State, and it's clearly a lesser version of Clemson. And Notre Dame comes up on the short end with both those opportunities. I mean, I don't know when they play those 2 teams again in the same year, but you're not going to get too many opportunities when those types of programs are down, or they're not even down, but I mean just showing some vulnerability, and Notre Dame just didn't take advantage of it today. Again, I have to go back to what were you trying to do offensively? And John, you're right. I mean, they did. Estime was running the ball well. I get that, but in order to cap off 75 and 80-yard drives, you're going to have to have some balance in your offense and throw the football a little bit more, and then that would keep Estime productive throughout the game if you have a little bit of a counterbalance to it, but they never accomplished that.
Yeah, I completely agree, Tim. And again, we saw Notre Dame go backwards when they got the ball down to the goal line and ended up having to settle for a field goal. That was an incredibly critical moment in the game. And then in the second half, when Notre Dame did have some momentum, and for the most part, Notre Dame's defense in the second half bowed its necks. But Notre Dame scored, tightened things up, and Clemson responded with an 11-play, 75-yard drive that waxed almost 6 minutes off of the clock. And that wasn't the ultimate turning point, but that was a real change because Notre Dame was on the cusp of momentum. Clemson answered and kept it.
Tim, if I could add, in that drive, John, remember I was saying to you, Tim, there were 5 plays of double-digit yardage by Clemson.
Yeah.
So
4 in a row. 4 in a row.
4 in a row. And so, after that, the defense did what it needed to do, but again, it was a little bit too late. And with the offense spinning its wheels all day, it really didn't matter in the end.
My main point of contention from the post-game press conference was it was not Sam Hartman taking the blame and Marcus Freeman taking the blame. They both did that as leaders. It did not come down to 2 or 3 plays as Marcus Freeman said. I know there were 2 cataclysmic plays for Notre Dame. There was one for Clemson as well. Clemson made more big plays. They just happened to all be on this side of the field the entire time. Look, Notre Dame forced punts. Clemson also knew at the end of the game it could punt and win this game. That was complimentary football. Final score from Death Valley, Clemson 31, Notre Dame 23.